While sword fights aren't usually the highlight, Zorro being the obvious exception, the series still delivers some truly insane swordsmanship moments. Here are some of the best moments when swordsmen in one piece flex too hard. Honestly, calling it a fight actually feels really wrong because frankly, it was pure slaughter. Ever since Dellinger appeared on the screen, he's been nothing but an annoying and sadistic little fish man. But the moment Hakuba woke up, Dellinger didn't even get a chance to react. That first cut sliced deep, and from there, the cuts got deeper and deeper. Hakuba just stands there, cold and methodical, letting Dellinger process the damage he's taken. I absolutely loved how Hakuba toyed with Dellinger. It was so satisfying to watch. It was honestly over before it even started. Next up, we have a one-man army show starring Kawamatsu versus the Udon Guards. These guards thought they could overpower Kawamatsu, but that's exactly where they screwed up, you see. The moment he got free, Kawamatsu absolutely tore through them like they were nothing. Even after being locked up for 13 years, Kawamatsu hasn't lost an ounce of his edge. The Udon Guards had no chance. They were getting comboed left and right, flying in all directions, while he barely broke a sweat. The scene screams, this is what happens when a legendary swordsman decides to show up, and honestly, it leaves you hyped for every single move Kawamatsu pulls next. Moving on, we have an all-out chaos of the Red Scabbards taking on Kaido's men. And when I say chaos, I mean it in the best possible way. This is peak samurai energy. Absolute, we're not backing down vibes. Each of the Scabbards is like a blur, slicing through dozens of Kaido's underlings while barely breaking a sweat. The fight choreography here is insane, and what makes this fight scene so hype and fun to watch is how each Scabbard has their own signature flow, their own personality shining through in every single frame. Kinemon's sliding, Denjiro's precise brutality, Kiku's style, everybody's flexing in their own way. But together, it's like a storm tearing through Onigashima. Honestly, they're the embodiment of Wano's legacy, taking on Kaido's forces with the kind of skill, honor, and power that leaves your jaw on the floor.
Soul Parade. Ice Burn.
ありがとう。
Let's move on to one of the coldest, literally, moments of Brook when he saved Robin from Black Maria's flames. This scene just hits different. You see, Black Maria, one of Kaido's Tobiroppo, is a nightmare with her devil fruit ability. She wraps Robin in a fiery spider web-like attack, leaving her trapped and vulnerable. Enter Brook, the Straw Hat's skeletal Soul King, arriving like a cold wind in the middle of a firestorm. Brook freezes Black Maria's flames, casting a mini Ice Age right in the middle of battle. His icy swordplay neutralizes the attack, letting Robin break free safely. This moment reminds us that the Straw Hats always have each other's backs, and sometimes the chill of the underworld is enough to snuff out even the hottest of flames. Let's jump back into history with a legendary samurai moment, Ryuma taking on a dragon. Now this scene is cinematic perfection. It shows us Ryuma's epic swordsmanship with his legendary warrior aura. In the series, he's not just a legendary warrior, he's also the figure who later inspires Zoro. When a massive dragon descends, Ryuma doesn't flinch. He channels pure precision and strength, his blade moving so fast it's like a flash of green lightning cutting through the air. Watching Ryuma slay the dragon makes you realize why he's forever remembered as a living legend, and it's easy to see how his legacy echoes all the way to Zoro. Moving on, we have Kinemon leaving our jaws on the floor after stopping Kaido's borrowed breath. Now, after watching Kaido literally fire off a hyper beam like he's a Pokemon, you think there's no way anyone could stand in front of that without getting obliterated. We're talking about borrowed breath, the kind of attack that splits mountains like they're just made of paper. And of course, Kaido aimed it right at the Scabbards and the Alliance, ready to wipe them out in one shot. But here comes Kinemon with nothing but his katana and his foxfire style. He pulls something unthinkable. He cuts Kaido's borrowed breath clean in half. Like bro wasn't ready to die that day. He turned what looked like certain death into one of the most clutch saves of the Wano arc. That was the moment where Kinemon went from comic relief to straight up legend. Moving on, we have one of the most shocking moments from One Piece. That's also one of the most satisfying displays of Law's growth and tactical genius. Law's main weapon here is his Kikoku, his Nodachi, which becomes insanely dangerous when combined with his devil fruit, the Ope Ope no Mi. Using Room, he creates a spherical area in which he's got full control over objects and people. With Kikoku plus Room plus Anesthesia, he can stab Big Mom, literally passing the sword through her body and simultaneously manipulate her internal organs or inflict internal damage without having to rely on brute force. Now, this is a big deal because Big Mom is super tough. She's taken hits before that would destroy most people and barely even bled. But here, Law actually makes her scream and show real pain, proving his devil fruit can get through even the strongest of defenses. Law's brains, sharp moves, and awakened devil fruit make him insanely dangerous without even going all out. And Onigashima is where he really shows off how badass he can get. Enjoying the video? You know what to do, don't you? Give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell icon to be updated every time I upload a new video.
で後悔すんじゃねえぞ。動かねえ。こんなバカなことがあるか。世界がこんなに遠いはずはねえ。こん の遠さはねえだろ。俺は今日まで剣を振ってきたわけじゃない。
いいね、世界一の剣豪。
嘘だろ。冗談じゃねえぞおい。ユーム。
Imagine being so strong you could summon a meteor from the sky. That's exactly what Fujitora did. The dude is blind, walks around with a cane sword, and carries himself like a polite old grandpa. But in Dressrosa, he showed why admirals are built different. With just a flick of his gravity powers, he pulls a meteor straight out of the sky. Everyone's losing their minds, Law's panicking, Doffy's actually sweating, and when Doffy stops smiling, you know it's serious. And even the Marines are like, hiding in the bushes might save us, right? Spoiler, it wouldn't. Fujitora wasn't even being serious. This wasn't even his full power. This was him casually flexing, just testing the waters if you like. Now, just imagine him mad and serious. He might even pull the moon down next, you never know. And speaking of overpowered sword skills, there's no way we can skip Mihawk's flex at Marineford. Marineford is pure madness. Giants, admirals, Whitebeard himself shaking the seas, and Mihawk just swings his sword. He casually slices a frozen tsunami in half like it's paper. Everyone on the battlefield stops to watch, because if that's what he does with a light swing, what happens if he actually tries? This was one of those moments when Luffy was actually scared. This guy is literally a monster. Anytime people tell me he's not amongst the very strongest in the series, I go back to scenes like this where he was pulling moves casually.
Samurai?噂の待て、ギャワン、レディーよ、侍、カムサリー。
Now, if we're talking about insane clashes, we can't just skip over the absolute madness that was Roger versus Oden. This one's wild because Oden doesn't hesitate even for a second. He straight up charges at the Pirate King the moment they meet. On the other hand, Roger's confidence is just unreal. He greets Oden with a casual, "Yo, samurai," and then hits him with Divine Departure. One swing, just one named attack, and Oden gets launched through trees like a ragdoll miles away. That's how big the gap was. This was Roger having fun, testing someone who looked strong enough to take it. And the fact that Oden survived and came back for more was what made Roger respect him enough to actually invite him onto his ship. If Whitebeard was the man who could match him, then everyone else, no matter how strong, was basically getting folded in one strike.
戦集まって商戦世界ひれぬものなし三刀流奥義一大三千
after talking about some legends showing their legendary swordsmanship, it only makes sense we talk about the moment Zoro finally got to flex on a big arc villain in his own way. And man, Dressrosa gave us exactly that. Because let's be honest, Zoro versus Pika was straight up bullying and wasn't even a fight. Pika, Doflamingo's top executive with one of the craziest devil fruits we'd seen at that point, turns himself into a literal mountain-sized giant, and Zoro just cuts it in half. Everyone else is struggling for their lives against Doflamingo and his crew, while Zoro is over here flexing on a skyscraper-sized man like it's target practice. Zoro didn't let that giant get away without the smoke. This was Zoro flexing the massive gap between him and literally anyone not on Yonko or Mihawk's level. Also, that fit was hard.
No. いかねえんだ。
When we talk about the greatest what-if moments in One Piece, nothing hits harder than Oden versus Kaido. That was one fight that showed us exactly why Oden's name still shakes the seas. Kaido, already a monster back then, unleashes his terrifying blast breath. Now, anyone else would have been roasted instantly, but Oden tanks it mid-air, powers straight through the flames like it's nothing, and still manages to land a strike so brutal it leaves Kaido with his only permanent scar to this day. I mean, that's insane. Oden wasn't even using Enma the way Zoro would later. He wasn't draining his haki to the limit, he was just swinging with pure heart, will, and conqueror's spirit. In that slash, Dogen Totsuka, Oden poured everything he had into protecting Wano, his family, and his people. The fact that Kaido, the strongest creature in the world, actually screamed in pain from Oden's blade tells you all you need to know. We can't skip over the time Mihawk casually turned Don Krieg's massive flagship into firewood. It was one of the biggest floating fortresses we'd seen in One Piece at the time, and Mihawk sliced it apart with 2 lightning-fast swings. Like, my man didn't even try. It was just a quick flash, and the ship that carried thousands of men began sinking. Early One Piece still felt light-hearted, goofy, full of underdogs struggling to cut rocks, and then Oda throws in a warlord who shows Yonko-level dominance in seconds. The sound of those slashes, the ship splitting like butter, and the crew's terrified faces. It was peak intimidation. Mihawk didn't even break a sweat, and in true Mihawk fashion, he was probably just annoyed that Krieg disturbed his lunch. And then we get the moment, the one that turned into an instant humbling compilation across the internet. Shanks versus Kid. Kid rolls up thinking he's about to solo a Yonko after barely scraping by against Big Mom with Law's help, and Shanks just looks at him like, you forgot you weren't the main character. Kid charges up this massive attack, the kind that could have wiped Shanks' fleet out in one shot, but that's the crazy part. Shanks actually saw the future with his observation haki and knew the damage would be insane if Kid landed it. So he just ends the whole thing in a single strike. Divine departure. A swing so raw that people are still saying Rogers was a greeting, Shanks' was a farewell.
なってやろうじゃねえか。地獄の王に。
Alright, this is one of those moments where Zorro fans, including myself, just sat there in silence and realized our boy really did it. Because after all the cuts, the pain, the flashbacks, and the Grim Reaper tease, Zorro finally rises as the king of hell. And the way Toei handled this was pure cinema. The dark skies are torn open with red lightning, his conqueror's haki spilling everywhere, and then Zorro carving his name into the heavens. From being humbled by Mihawk's butter knife back in Baratie to this moment where Zorro declares, "I'll become the king of hell," it's a full circle flex of just how far he's come. King was no pushover, one of Kaido's strongest men, loyal to the end and a beast in combat. But Zorro stood tall, bloodied, broken, yet absolutely unshaken. So we're at the end of this video now, and I know you might feel that I left out a couple of Zorro moments, but don't worry, I've got an entire video dedicated to him. So here you go. Take a look at moments when Zorro flexed too hard in one piece and enjoy. Before you go, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more juicy anime content.